My name's Kitty Getlick. I'm the manager and artistic director of the Kelsey Theater. This is my 33rd year here at the college at the theater. I began as stage manager, was here as stage manager for 15 years, then I was the general manager, and then I became the artistic director, and I've been the artistic director since 1990, so quite a while. Well, I knew from the time I was very young that I was very interested in theater. So I think what inspired me to work in the theater was my mother was English, and she worked in community theater. She worked, our church actually had a theater group, and she and my father were in the theater group in the church. When I was 7, my mom actually built me my own backyard theater. And she wrote a play, and we cast the neighborhood kids in it, and served lemonade at intermission, and it was all in my own backyard. It was pretty cool. But you would think having your own backyard theater, you would have like the lead role, and I didn't. I was kind of like third princess from the left. I don't even think I had a line in that. But yeah, so I pretty much was hooked on theater from a very young age, and went to college to study it. I went to Penn State for 2 years and then Temple for 2 years, and then began working around in theater. When I was in college, my focus turned from acting to technical theater and management. There's a lot of things that happen. We've had people get proposed to on stage. We've celebrated a 90th birthday on stage. We've actually had weddings on stage. All sorts of stuff have gone on stage, and a lot of it is dealing with when little things go wrong, because it is live theater, and how you handle the little things going wrong. When I directed Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, we had the flu go through our cast during the run of the show several years ago, and so there were some scenes that had 6 dwarves. It was Snow White and the 6 dwarves, because one of them would be off stage throwing up. So we had sort of different numbers of dwarves every time, because one would go throw up, and then they'd be in the next scene when the next one would go and throw up, and it was pretty dramatic, but they were young, and they were full of energy, and they wanted to do the show, and we managed to make it work. I don't know how many in the audience noticed, and they just sort of picked up each other's lines. So that there were no lines dropped. They just actually would add it onto their thing. Oh, so and so's off throwing up, so we'll do their line to in this show. So that was kind of fun. One of my favorite roles actually is the Wicked Witch of the West in The Wizard of Oz. And I love being the Wicked Witch, because you get to really just be this mean, rotten, nasty person. But the first time I did the Wicked Witch, there's a part at the end, obviously, where she gets splashed with the water, and Dorothy splashes her with the water because she's trying to put the scarecrow out, and unbeknownst to Dorothy, she melts with water. So she has that wonderful scene in the movie where she's, I'm melting, what a world, and all the steam comes up, and there's nothing left there but like her cape and her hat and her broom. And so in order to accomplish this on stage, you actually have to have something for her to melt into. So you have to have a platform. So when we did this the first time, I was on top of this platform, and there was a trapdoor in the platform. And as soon as I got on top of this 8-foot-high platform, the trapdoor would open behind me, which the audience wouldn't see because my skirt was big. And a ladder was inside the platform. And as I melted, when the water would be thrown on me as I melted, I had to very carefully, still pretending to be melting down into the ground, I would very carefully be walking backwards down this ladder. Now, I had 2 crew people, one in charge of each leg, actually, to make sure that my foot got onto each rung so that I didn't fall 8 feet down to the ground through this trapdoor. And of course there's fog and smoke coming up and lights coming up, and so it looks like steam coming out and that I'm really melting. But what happened was we couldn't use real water when they're doing this because you're wearing wireless microphones, and if you get wireless microphones wet, you would ruin the microphones, and they're very expensive. So we used silver mylar, cut up pieces of silver mylar in the bucket. And the opening night, we had a huge audience, packed audience, and I'm on top of this 8-foot platform. Now, they've already opened the trapdoor behind me, so I literally have one thin part where my left foot is, and one thin part where my right foot is. In front of me, there's an 8-foot drop, and behind me, there's an 8-foot drop down the trapdoor. And somebody, unbeknownst to us, had taken this metal bucket and had actually used it to transport water during the day and had not dried it out. So when they put the silver mylar in, it stuck to the sides of the bucket. So here we are, I'm up on top of this 8-foot platform, and I'm doing my little scene where I set the scarecrow on fire. I had a flash thing that came out of my hand and flashed at him. And she goes to throw the silver mylar out of the bucket, and nothing came out of the bucket. So she panicked, and she hauled back with this bucket and threw the entire bucket at me. Well, here I am standing up on this 8-foot platform, and my entire life went into slow motion as I went, oh no, that bucket's going to hit me. Okay, and it just flew through the air. There's no place I could go, and it hit me square in the head. And it didn't knock me out, luckily. It hurt, but it didn't knock me out. But here I am trying to melt down this platform after I've just been hit in the head with this metal bucket. And I would have been fine, except for the fact that the orchestra broke character. You know, the actors all didn't break character. They stayed with the scene, but the orchestra broke character, and I heard people in the orchestra go, oh my God, they hit Kitty, right? At which point, now I'm trying not to laugh. So I'm trying to do, I'm melting, trying not to laugh as I'm trying to sink down this thing with a bruise on my head and the smoke coming up and everything else. So we get backstage, and Dorothy was scared to death. She thought I was going to be, like, really mad at her, and she, like, wouldn't come anywhere near me. She was only 16 years old, the girl who was playing Dorothy. And she was so scared that because she had hit me in the head. She was hiding behind the scarecrow everywhere they went because she didn't want me to see her because she thought I was going to be mad at her. But so I did learn one thing. The second time we did the show, I said, I will be the Wicked Witch with one stipulation: no metal buckets. So we used a cloth bucket that's something that my friend made for me. So that I wouldn't get hit in the head again with a metal bucket. So that's my one rule with doing The Wizard of Oz, is no metal buckets. Live theater is so different from any other experience that you have in entertainment. I do watch TV, and I do go to movies, and I do rent movies, and I do go online and that kind of stuff, but I think that live theater has a certain life force of its own that goes back and forth between the audience and the stage. No two performances are ever exactly the same in live theater because there's a certain energy connection between the audience and the stage, and I think there's nothing like that anywhere else. The other thing that I am fascinated by is the fact that in theater, especially in community theater, everybody involved in the show is giving 110%. They are trying their best with all their energies to do the best acting, make the best costumes, to do the best lighting, make the best scenery. I mean, each one of them is really doing the best they absolutely can because they have a vested interest in it. This is what they want to do, and they take pride in what they do. And not every company are you going to find that. Very often I have worked other places in other companies, and there are people who are just phoning it in. They're not really interested in it. They're just doing it to get a paycheck kind of thing. And I think that's kind of sad. I really like theater because everybody is really, really giving their all to make it happen.